Now, we all know that South Africa's unemployment rate rose to, 30.8% in the third quarter of 2020 from 23.3% in the previous period, now though below market expectations of 33.4%. Emerging technology in the fourth industrial revolution, we've seen and heard those words, are becoming an increasing part of the workplace. A lot of people, well, they're staying at home instead of working in the office these days. To focus on digital, as well as it also has the potential to save companies, increase the GDP and reduce unemployment in the crisis hit South Africa. We're joined on the line Martin Pienaar, COO of the digital talent agency Mindworx. Martin, welcome to SA Today on SABC News Channel. Last we talked, we've been talking about the digital aspect of the workplace, been talking about how we must move with the times, that the paper, the printer is no longer of use to anyone. Everything must be in the head. Big data, small data, soft data are the words of the future. And with this bad news of an economy that's shrinking, you guys come in hand to take us towards that as Mindworx.
Good afternoon, Tabisa, and good afternoon to your viewers. Yeah, that's absolutely right. We've got a much more urgent unemployment crisis now after COVID than we had 6 months ago. An extra 2 million people falling into the unemployment pool. We were already on a 4IR or digitization revolution path, but this COVID has accelerated us down that path. So we urgently need to address skills in this country if we want to reduce unemployment.
When you look at skills, Martin, where does one begin? Because you mentioned the fact that we need to be more digital in South Africa, but the reality is, as a developing country as it is right now, we still see, I think maybe if 15% of the country have got fiber or data, steady data, that's a huge plus. But South Africa is not well digitized as a developing country right now.
I think we're making big inroads into that. I think internet costs are coming down. We've seen that just over the last 6 months. So access to networks and the cost of data have dropped. But we really need to get cheap tablets into the hands of as many learners as possible. We need to get them free or cheap internet access, because this is how we're going to impart the skills into our learners going forward. So that's the base. And then we really need to accelerate how we're preparing young people for the workplace. They're definitely going to encounter problems they've never seen in their lives before. So we can't, the old education system of rote learning isn't appropriate in the 21st century. We need to teach new skills. We need to get people to be curious, and everything's out there, but we've got to guide them to go and find it. We need to teach creative thinking. Develop new products on the fly. The life cycles are shortening. Solve complex problems, collaborating teams. These are the skills that are going to make our youth productive in the workplace.
When I was speaking to somebody and asking about, because this digital and big data for me is a bit foreign. I'm a practical person. I'm a sporty person. Soft skills of the future. What are those in the digital?
So these are the ones I'm talking about. It's about emotional intelligence, negotiating, persuading, being able to work in teams. And those teams have changed. People are working from home. How do you run a team that's sitting remotely? That's getting more interesting. Also, in the future, not all people are going to be permanently employed in the companies where they're adding value. These new skills, these digital skills that you speak of, are in such high demand that we're not going to be able to find people to do all of these roles. So we'll be taking pieces of people's time that are working for multiple corporations in this new gig economy.
And there's always fear. When you speak about data and you speak about IA and you speak about the fourth industrial revolution, people say, I'm going to lose my job. But the reality is there's always a need for personnel touch on hands, because that's how computers are configured anyway. So it's about upskilling yourself as an individual as well to match that digital process moving forward.
Yeah, and I think this applies as much to new people coming into the job market, to older people that have been in the job market for some time. We're all going to have to work for longer. We can't retire at 55 like we used to, because we're living much longer and healthier lives. So it's imperative that all of us keep our skills up to date. And I guess the starting point is that we have to become comfortable with technology, because I can't think of an industry or a job in the future that's not going to have some link into technology, and that's from farming to government to financial services. So if you can't operate the technology that's used in your industry, you are going to get left behind. So our job at the Mindworx Academy is to make sure that we're creating a culture of lifelong learning in the people that we're training, and that applies to, as I said, both new learners and people that have been in corporations for some time.
Yeah, Mindworx comes across, as talking the big game, the big words, and their training, and obviously the yardsticks are there. You got your in terms of the sectors, the people that you train. Just take us through some of the things that I'm sitting at home saying, look, maybe being a chartered accountant is not as valuable as what I want to do in the future. Maybe I should get on the bandwagon of big data, small data. Mindworx, what do you offer a Thabiso sitting at home one day saying, I want to make it big, and the technology is the future?
We've got to teach skills that are internationally in demand. So if you train to be a lawyer in South Africa, an accountant, a doctor, and want to immigrate to a different country, you're going to have to recertify in that country. Whereas these digital skills, the big data skills, the AI, the cloud computing, robotic skills, these skills are internationally deployable. And if we don't create those skills in South Africa, they'll be created in other countries. And because these skills are completely agnostic to geographies, if we don't create them, somebody else will, and we'll lose those jobs and therefore exacerbate this unemployment crisis that we're facing.
How far are we, Martin, as compared to possibly, I hate comparisons, but you always have to compare to something to know how far you are. How far are we in South Africa coming to data and that kind of technology and that kind of education, if I can put it that way?
I mean, I think a lot of the technology that we're producing in this country are world class, and you can see that many organizations that have been developed in South Africa have taken those products and services internationally hugely successfully. Discovery with Vitality, if you look at what MultiChoice has done on the African continent. So I don't think we're behind here. I think that in many aspects, we lead the world. So now we just got to make sure that we're producing enough skills at scale to bring people into this marketplace. And I also think that we could, because of the digital nature of these jobs, we could provide services for international companies because of our weak rand. Our services are cheap.
Yeah.
So people in South Africa can provide services like we've done in the call center industry, but across a whole range of other digital skills.
And how imperative is it for the continent to get on the bandwagon? Because one would say, look, if South Africa are the only ones, it's not competitive if your neighbors are not doing it. So you want to be as competitive as possible on the continent to get that revenue as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think on the continent, once again, I think in some aspects we've leapfrogged other countries. If you look at mobile money and how M-Pesa in the Kenyan market is dominating, and that technology is now spilling out into paying social grants in India and other areas. So I think as Africans we've showed that we can leapfrog, and I think the time is now. This is our opportunity.
Martin Pienaar, CEO of digital talent agency Mindworx, thank you indeed for joining us. Always a pleasure having a chat with you, Martin. Thank you very much for speaking to us here on SA Today, SABC News Channel. I'll be seeing you soon, brother. Thank you.
Thanks, Thabiso.